Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. My partner, Kristen Oaks-White, will join us a little bit later in the show. We begin our show yet again telling you that as we record this, another hurricane is threatening Louisiana. This time, it's Delta, the 25th named storm to form in the Atlantic. Right now, it appears Delta will make landfall in Louisiana as a Category 3 storm with sustained winds somewhere around 115 miles an hour. The cone of uncertainty while we're recording this on Wednesday goes from about Galveston east to the St. Mary Terrebonne Parish line. Sugarcane harvest is underway, and that's the crop that would get the first impact from Delta's winds blowing over cane already ready for harvest. Next would be the cotton crop, which already took a hit from Hurricane Laura just more than a month ago. Some folks in Calcasieu and Cameron parishes and even Vermilion Parish just got electricity back this week, more than a month after Hurricane Laura, and now Delta threatens to hit them again. When this show starts airing across Louisiana on October 10th, Delta will have already made landfall in Louisiana and have moved into Mississippi. I hope it comes in weaker than predicted. I hope the storm surge is not as high as predicted. I hope and pray that there is no loss of life. If you're watching this, take a moment, check on your neighbor, check on your family. Know that we're all feeling more stress, but we can get through this together. One of the families in the path of Delta are the Griffiths. Their home in Grand Chenier was demolished by Hurricane Laura, along with 1,600 acres of fencing, cattle pens, and memories. As TWILA's Neil Melanson shows us, there's hope among this rubble.
It's a quiet, sunny day here at the Lazy Acres Ranch in Welsh. Owner Leslie Griffith is talking with folks at the NRCS in Lake Charles about programs to keep the grass healthy here, as well as getting back on their feet after Hurricane Laura. Mac Parker, the district conservationist, says there's programs aimed at helping them do just that.
NRCS, once that boundary fence is up, we're able to help in interior and cross share with our EQIP program, dealing with interior cross fencing, livestock water, water wells, troughs, water facilities, things that are heavy use pads underneath, to assist with those and try to get some back sense of normalcy, if you will.
Even an hour north of the coast here, there's signs of stress. One of Griffith's cows died from the stress and mosquitoes post-Laura. Still, he did manage to get most of his 190 head of cattle out of the way of the storm.
We'd bought this land here for right after Rita and hauled the cows back after Rita had went through and tore everything up. I put a water well in. Well, I come 3 years later, but the water well stayed, and I had to redo my fences. Laura's come down in my 600-acre winter pasture where these cows would normally be going to this time of the year. I went there the other day. I had a brand new set of cow pens I built in February. They're completely gone. And also the water well that I put in is gone. So now, right now, we don't have any fresh water down home. Everything is old, nasty, salty, muddy water.
The story at his main ranch in Grand Chenier is much different. The main house was completely demolished in the storm and its remains strewn about the 1,600 acres here. It's damage that will likely be around a long time, as history bears witness. Here you can see a divot in a tree that was there during Hurricane Audrey in 1957, when an 11-year-old Leslie rode out the storm with his family on their makeshift raft made from the roof of their house. In 2005, Rita demolished this area, and Griffith said they were just starting to recover from that storm.
This storm here was worse than Audrey, Ike, and Rita put together, because I didn't lose so many oak trees as I did this time. I've lost a bunch of these big old oaks that they'll never be replaced in my lifetime.
Mark Norman is a soil conservationist with the NRCS. He says the recovery in this area for the soil alone will take many months, if not years.
Be as responsible as you can be with the grazing, and if you have an extra pasture or if you can get hay, then you're going to need it this year.
Leslie and Mark share more than just an interest in soil health. Both are veterans of the United States Army, Leslie of the Vietnam War, Mark of the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. Leslie shared the pain of losing his dog tags during Laura, something Mark understood well. Mark says everyone in southwest Louisiana is getting a taste of what war is like, the damage reminiscent of his time in the service.
This looks like Afghanistan. the people with all the wires down, and houses with the roofs ripped off, and then you have people walking around. I just felt like a bomb went off. It looked like a bomb had gone off, and just total devastation.
Still, there are signs of hope here. The once barren oaks of Oak Grove are starting to put out leaves, and among the rubble, another sign. As we were watching, Mark found something Leslie had thought lost.
Look, I killed these in Vietnam. My uncle gave me this. Y'all can read it yourself. It said, it's the alcoholic's dear one day at a time, you know what I mean? And it says, God grant me serenity to protect things I can't change.
While his voice was full of emotion at the discovery of those dog tags, it belies a strength in Leslie, a strength that has kept the Griffiths working this land for 200 years, and if he has anything to say about it, for 200 more and beyond.
And my address will be 1003 Oak Grove Highway, Branchton, Louisiana, till I die, so I know that, so,
Leslie and Peggy are taking precautions ahead of Hurricane Delta, but their cattle are safe, as you saw, on their Welsh ranch, and hopefully will survive the storm intact. I want to thank Peggy Griffith in particular for helping us with this story's details and providing the drone video you saw in the story. Although Leslie was the one who flew it, she's the one who got it to us. And Avery, as you saw, I was there for that emotional moment where Mark Norman from the NRCS found those dog tags that belonged to Leslie and that medallion that was part of it. And that was just one of those special moments that hopefully put all of this disaster into context. That there's not just that hope among the rubble, but there's this connection between people that brings them together during times like this.
Yeah, and I know your pictures absolutely blew up on social media whenever you shared that and the story, but for you personally, witnessing that, what was that like?
My uncle was a Vietnam veteran. And so I know how those memorabilia are special to these guys. And it's not the awards or the medals themselves or the glory, it's the connection back to that time and place that was so unique. And as you heard Mark say, when he saw Lake Charles, he saw his time in Afghanistan. And so those dog tags and that bring that together. And so for me personally, I recognize that, and of course I was on the job and filming, but but it did touch me emotionally. One of the things that it does also make you want to reach out and help these people as much as you can, and there's a way that we can. Leslie said he doesn't really need money, he doesn't really need goods shipped to him. What he needs, he pointed to his bicep, is manpower, elbow grease. When 1,600 acres of fencing is a lot, and of course he is probably the biggest cattle owner, landowner out there. So what he needs is a lot of people putting fences down and putting those, digging holes, putting fence posts in, putting fences up, as well as all the other various and sundry activities that go along in a cattle farm. Mark Norman with NRCS, not only did he find his dog tags, but he's organizing some help. He's already got about 20 people ready to help him, and it's going to be spread throughout, I think, the next 6 months, if not longer. If you want to help, if you want to reach out there and contact him, go out there and work with him, you can either call the NRCS office in Lake Charles, or we'll help you link that on our website at twilatv.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Neil. Great story. Right now, it's National 4-H Week. One highlight for many 4-Hers across Louisiana is getting to visit Camp Grant Walker in Pollock. The nearly 100-year-old campground is surrounded by trees, which is what makes it beautiful, but also made it vulnerable to Hurricane Laura's winds. The entrance to Camp Grant Walker in Pollock, Louisiana is an inviting sight, beautifully lined with tall pine trees. But one uninvited guest recently came through and wrecked the beloved campground dating back to the 1920s. That guest, Hurricane Laura. 4-H camp director Christine Bergeron lives on the grounds, but moved from her home to a masonry brick bathhouse with her dog when Laura came through.
We had between 85 and 100 mile-per-hour winds. I think it was probably more than that. You could definitely hear the sound, that whistling. If there's any tornadoes were coming, I could hear it. And it just seemed like every 2 minutes it would rise up again with the wind. And during that time, all you could hear were just snapping and cracking and just trees falling, and not just small trees. I mean, as you can see, we have very tall pine trees, and it was very scary because you're just thinking, okay, is one gonna fall on where I'm at on the structure I'm in.
A tree fell and did this to Bunkhouse 19, where more than 50 campers would stay in the summer. A tree also fell on the dance pavilion, which dates back to the 1920s. That tin on the floor is from the roof, and the supports are broken. And this cabin for staff and rentals also fell victim to a fallen tree.
It has done so much for so many of us.
Dr. Paul Miller of Ville Platte is a volunteer at Camp Grant Walker and also came here as a 4-H'er. He calls this camp an incubator for success and wants adults who came here as children to raise awareness of the current situation.
Talk about your experiences. Someone knows someone who came to 4-H camp and had a great experience, and it led to opportunities in life. It helped them find a niche. Every walk of life. I mean, as a child, I had an eye injury, and so I couldn't do athletics. I came to 4-H camp, and I was able to find things that really I was passionate about.
Patrick Tuck is passionate about raising money for the 4-H camp. He says before Hurricane Laura, the Louisiana 4-H Foundation had a $1.17 million plan to upgrade the buildings here by adding bathrooms or air conditioning. Now, there's a whole lot more to pay for.
Well, there's several of those buildings that we were going to modernize that now we're either going to have to just get new roofs, new walls. There's one bunkhouse that needs to be torn down and completely rebuilt. So as opposed to putting a bathroom on the side of a building, we're talking about a complete rebuild of a structure.
Looking at the Greek Theater back in the 1930s, while it was still under construction, you can see that much has grown around Camp Grant Walker to give to the young people who come here. Miller says now it's time for those grown-up young people to give back.
Contribute to the specific cause of rebuilding this camp and adding new functions so we can continue to attract children to grow into this family. And that's what we are, 4-H alumni and Camp Grant Walker. It's a family.
If you would like to help Camp Grant Walker rebuild and get a little more up to date, you can donate to the Grant Walker 4-H Education Center Support Fund. You'll find a link on our website at twilatv.org. Hurricane Laura had a significant impact on Louisiana's pecan trees. Trees were toppled. Much of the nuts were blown off the trees before they were mature. Broken tops and uprooted trees are a common sight in Louisiana pecan orchards, brought on by the winds from Hurricane Laura. The storm came through at an inopportune time as the nuts were beginning to fill and dry down. Orchards in the direct path of the storm suffered the greatest losses. According to LSU Ag Center pecan specialist Michael Polizzola, older trees were most vulnerable to the winds.
The ones that are 50, 60 years old, well into production, their branch architecture just caught the wind and they fell over and toppled at more increased rates, lost more canopy, probably 30 to 50%.
Right now, many are still in cleanup mode and will likely be in this phase for months to come. Historically, Louisiana ranks in the top 6 of pecan-producing states with crops averaging between 10 and 15 million pounds. Unfortunately, this year's numbers will be significantly lower due to Hurricane Laura. It's October in Louisiana, which means many things to many people. Cooler weather, LSU football, shorter days, but it also means cotton harvest. This week, TWILA's Carl Wiggers traveled to Tensas Parish to meet up with a farmer who says cotton is his favorite crop.
Sunrise over a cotton field is a beautiful sight to farmers that grow the crop. In Louisiana, there are about 200,000 acres of cotton. That's less than 1/5 of the acres grown 25 years ago. One of those farmers still growing cotton is Marshall Hardwick and his family in Tensas Parish. As the morning dew melts off of his cotton, Hardwick is prepping his cotton picker for another day in the field. So far, Hardwick says he's mostly happy with the weather he's harvesting in, with the exception of Tropical Storm Beta.
We dodged a bullet with only receiving about 3 inches. Prior to that, we had been picking for a few days. It was very clean. We're seeing a little bit more tagging after the rain. But overall, the conditions, field conditions are good. Weather is great. It's nice and sunny early in the morning. No cloud covers. Very cool. Kind of starting to feel like fall. Our yields are holding strong. They're I would say anywhere from 1,100 to 1,200 pounds. And we've got spots that are maybe hitting 15, and we've got spots that are maybe hitting 700, 800. But I would say overall, we're hoping to be about that 1,100 pound range.
That's a number Hardwick says he's satisfied with. Another number Hardwick is less pleased with is the price that he's paid for his cotton, which is why his acres are down from previous years.
No, the driving force was 58 cents, 60 cent cotton. I mean, that's cotton that my grandfather would have been unsatisfied with in the 50s, you know, so we just couldn't make any money, and we wanted to keep cotton on the farm for all the reasons we just talked about, but it's, you know, it's hard to plant it when you know it's a guaranteed loss.
Hardwick says his love for cotton can be traced back to his childhood, and as long as there's a way, he wants cotton planted on his family's farm.
Of course, I love growing soybeans and corn, but it's just, cotton is just a different breed, and it's kind of putting your blood in your genes, literally, and you know, it's an exciting time of the year. The smell, the looks and the attractiveness of it, it just looks like snow in October.
Cotton harvest in Louisiana is nearing the halfway mark. We want to wish everyone a safe and speedy harvest as they work hard to get as much of the crop out of the field ahead of Hurricane Delta. If you're interested in hearing more from this story, TWILA's Carl Wiggers took the entire interview with Marshall Hardwick and created a brand new Louisiana Farm Life podcast with it. If you'd like to listen, you can find a link over on our website at twilatv.org. Former Louisiana Governor Mike Foster died October 4th at his home in Franklin, Louisiana. Foster served 2 terms in the governor's mansion, but made his living as a businessman and a sugarcane farmer. Before his entry into state politics, Foster was very involved in Farm Bureau, having served as St. Mary Parish Farm Bureau president and as chair of the Sugarcane Advisory Committee. Foster was once quoted as saying, "Everything he learned about politics, he learned from Farm Bureau." I asked him about that when I interviewed him in September of 2018.
Farm Bureau, we were talking, you and I were talking, it was very actively politically in that if you wanted that job, you had to compete for it. And we had a lot of that politicking. What little politicking I knew, I learned that way.
A really great man and one of the most fun governors I've ever covered. Mike Foster was 90 years old. Rachel Duncan is the owner of a do-it-yourself flower business, creating beautiful bouquets out of a '66 Chevy truck she brings to the Alexandria Farmers Market. When Hurricane Laura barreled through the town of Boyce, Rachel lost about half of her flower crop. But with her always sunny disposition, she's using this opportunity to get a jump start on her fall and winter flowers. Before the storm, TWILA's Jennifer Finley went to visit the farm and put this story together.
I'm Jennifer Finley, and we're in Boyce, Louisiana with Rachel Duncan, and we're here to talk about Bayou Petals. So what exactly do you have going on as a business plan here?
So I have Bayou Petals Flower Farm. It's a cut flower farm. Everything is grown directly in the ground in my backyard. Everything is freshly cut. We are right on Bayou Rapides, so that's how we kind of got the name Bayou Petals.
It's a great name.
Yes. So what I do, I go to like the local farmers markets and I sell my flowers by the stem. People can create their own bouquets, so it's kind of like a DIY thing. I have an awesome 66 GMC flower truck that we use that we sell the stems out of at the farmers market. And I also do a weekly subscription or bi-weekly subscription like a CSA.
Okay, so I could say, hey, can I get a fresh bouquet every other week? And you would do that for me?
Absolutely. So I have the pickup option. People can come to the farmers market and pick up their bouquets, or I can deliver them anywhere in like the local Sinlaw area.
Well, I came here to work today because what you do is you cut these fresh on Tuesdays,
yes,
and then you bring them straight to market.
Absolutely.
And then you sell them by the stem at market, so you can go to the Alexandria Farmers Market,
yep,
and cut whatever it is from the buckets and make your own bouquet for the week.
Yes.
Well, put me to work.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
So like this is ready, this is not ready.
Got it.
It's gonna continue to open.
So ready?
Yep.
And not ready.
Right.
Got it.
So the reason you strip the leaves is you don't want any leaves in a vase underwater, because that's gonna create bacteria, and in return it's gonna kill your flowers a lot faster. So that's why I strip the leaves, and it's easier to strip the leaves in the field right when you're cutting them, instead of trying to prep them after you have them in buckets and whatnot.
You really shared all of this with your YF&R group, and that they were a means to support you and all that kind of. Can you talk to me a little bit about that camaraderie and that friendship that goes on within that program?
Absolutely. So we started with YF&R 4 or 5 years ago, and I was kind of skeptical at first. I'm like, okay, so it's other young farmers and ranchers from around the state, but it's literally like a huge family, and everyone in the group wants to see you grow and wants to see you succeed, and they are supporting you 110%. So having that backbone and letting our friends tell Robert and convince him, let Rachel do this, like let her just see, like you need to do one season, nobody in y'all's area does that, like that's a really cool business adventure, just let her do it. So having those friends kind of back me up and support me kind of like opened the door for him, and he's like, okay, I'll let you try it. So without that YF&R support, I don't think he would have let me do it, but here we are. Yes.
How did I do?
You did great.
I
So we're
did.
just gonna strip some of these leaves off. And actually, since there's a bunch of different colors right here, this would make a gorgeous little bouquet by itself. Just because. All the flowers are the same.
Well, if it works for you, I'm going to take this gorgeous bouquet home with me today.
Absolutely.
I feel so privileged to have had the opportunity to spend the day with you getting ready for the farmer's market. This is the business of Bayou Petals.
You can find Bayou Petals Flower Farm at the Alexandria Farmers Market every Tuesday from 3 to 6 p.m. The farm also offers weekly and bi-weekly fresh flower subscriptions. For more information on Bayou Petals or how to join the Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers program, visit our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, Kristen Oaks-White joins us with the TWILA Boost, and heaven knows we need a little good news right now. Stay with us.
This week we're closing the show, as always, with the TWILA Boost that will hopefully leave you with a smile. The Peterson Farm Brothers have done it again with a new farm-themed music video titled Corn Revolution. This video features an original song and is dedicated to the research and development behind today's corn plants.
We go hard up in the tractor. Soil is prepped, but yeah, the weather is a factor. Got the planter greased and ready to go. Talc is mixed in nice so that it'll all flow.
Depth will be adjusted, down pressure changed. The fertilizer rate, it can be rearranged. Seeds per acre, call it population. Herbicides help us with weed eradication.
So many choices that we have to make. Plus we gotta hope that equipment won't break. What hybrid to plant? How do we succeed?
Decisions come down to what we need. We need a corn revolution. Corn revolution. Corn revolution. Farming has problems,
but there are solutions.
Right here, pioneer, that's what you call a
corn revolution.
And their video is also giving back to a great cause. For every share of this video on social media, the Pioneer Seed Company has pledged to donate $1 to the National FFA organization. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll have more on the impacts of Hurricane Delta. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, we post all of these videos and more on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to us there. For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.